Hi, I'm Toni Preckwinkle, chair of the Cook County Democratic Party, and this is our podcast, The 80. It gives us an opportunity to talk about the party, its candidates, and its leaders. We're beginning by interviewing our elected committee people to discuss their backgrounds and thoughts about the history and future of our party. Today, I'm excited to welcome George Cardenas, who is alderman and committee person of the 12th Ward. George, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for the invite.
Help us out and tell us where the 12th Ward is.
So 12th Ward is smack in the middle of the city. A lot of people don't know that, but you can get to the city literally within 10 to 15 minutes by driving Archer Avenue right down to State Street. You can get on Damon off the Stevenson, and within 7 to 10 minutes, you're literally in any of the streets in downtown.
All right, so you're southwest side.
Southwest.
But right near the Loop.
Near the Loop, correct.
Okay. All right, and this is a Latinx ward, by and large.
The majority are Latinos, mostly Mexican-American or Mexican descent, yes.
Okay. All right, now how did you personally get involved in politics? You hold two jobs, a government job and a party office. Tell us how you got here.
Well, my family immigrated from Mexico many moons ago, and we settled in on Marshall Boulevard. My mother bought a four flat for $40,000, if you believe that.
Wow.
Back in 1980, and we sort of been living there ever since. I ended up going to Latinx High School. I used to take the bus. Would take me forever. I think towards my senior year, I ended up buying a car. I was working after school just to get there quicker because I was working obviously at night, and it was very hard for me to get up in the morning and make the school to first class at 8 a.m. And my chem teacher was hard on me because he wanted me to be there on time, and it was tough. But we made it work, and obviously I graduated. After that, I joined the military, the Navy. Since college was kind of an unknown to me with an immigrant family, we just didn't know what options we had. But I knew that I wanted something different for myself, and I was willing to kind of go on a different course, even if I had to, go away to make that happen.
So how long did you serve in the Navy?
About three and a half years. I left in the middle of 1988, enrolled into Northeastern Illinois University until I graduated in late 1990 and got my degree in 1991. How I got into politics is that I didn't stop there. I got a job at Centel Corp in audit. I have an accounting background, accounting and finance. And I always loved politics. It was always in my mind to kind of do something about it. And I went back to school and wanted to pursue a master's. I really wanted to become an attorney, and that sort of was going to be my goal. But I knew I had to do something different, and so I was able to re-enroll into school and sought a master's degree in political science. And I met a lot of interesting people during that time, which then got me involved in politics in the mid-90s.
All right. So are you first generation college graduate?
I was the first one in my family to graduate from college, yes.
Well, that's an impressive feat.
Thank you.
Northeastern is a part of our state system which has a large population of Latinx students, right?
I call it the Harvard of the Midwest, yes.
All right, very good, very good. Where did you go for your master's at Northeastern too?
Yes, I did. And the reason I did that is because being a veteran, that allowed me to pursue my education through the GI Bill, and it was actually included both my undergrad degree and my master's in my program. So I was not able to pay a penny to be able to achieve that. So I took advantage of it.
For many of our brown and black young people who may not have families that can afford to pay sky-high college tuition, service in the military provides an opportunity to get a college education for little or no cost. That's a great thing.
That's it. And so I literally didn't pay a dime, so it's good.
Yeah, many young people today are burdened with so much college debt. So you're blessed in that respect.
I am to this day, correct.
All right. So I'm somebody who ran for office twice before I got elected. When did you run for office, and were you successful in your
So I got involved with some folks that were they're politically active back in the mid 1990s, and then they put in my mind to run for office, only because they sort of found out that I was a veteran, I was a business person, and I I was sort of a regular guy who didn't get into trouble. I worked most of the time. And so they I know one individual just put in my hand and like, look, you should run for office, especially here, because I think there's a lot of need here in the Latino community for folks like you. You did your thing. You forged a path that a lot of people don't do, and maybe you should just talk about that. And I really didn't really take it seriously until '02, in the beginning of '02, when we started talking about just in a few months there would be petitions, and I already had helped others do petitions in the mid 1990s, like 1996 races. So I said, I didn't take it seriously, to be honest with you. I said, I'll go through the motions. I'll see what happens. But I started a company, and I wanted to see that through as well. And I didn't want to give that up. And they said, look, you don't have to give up your those endeavors. You could go into politics and serve and be able to do that as well. And so I did that, and I said, okay, as long as I don't have to give up my dreams of becoming an entrepreneur and forging a path that way, because I was really it was something, a passion of mine. So anyway, '02, I challenged an incumbent at that time, which happened to be Ray Frias. That was a political for a while. He was a state rep, and it was also an alderman. He was in his second term. But things weren't right. Things were not, in my opinion, things could get better. I saw it on my end, because the north end of the ward, which is Little Village, most of the time was unattended. It was hideaways everywhere, garbage everywhere. Streets were not paved, and that really got to me, and I decided to do something about it.
So it was your interest in trying to improve things in the ward that led you to run for alderman, and you were successful, of course, on your first time out. So you've been in office since 2003, is that right?
That is correct. That is correct. Obviously, I was one of your colleagues, so it's been a minute. I never envisioned that I would be here this long, to be honest.
Yeah. So tell us about you've talked about your government service. Tell us about your political involvement and what you've done in terms of being a committee person. What can you share with us about what it takes to be?
One of the things that by the way, I wanted to run for committee person because I really I don't like to see my ward be almost to last in voting and in voting numbers. So I'm going to change that. I know in the last election, more people came out, more people were informed about voting. We had direct outreach through different mechanisms using data techniques that people kind of got the sense, there was a sense of urgency in coming out to vote. And so I'm going to do that over and over again until we get along the lines of voting power like the South. I love what happens in the South side of Chicago. Tremendous people numbers come out to vote, and that's what it should be in the Latino community.
One of the things I think that people need to remember when they look at voter turnout in wards is that the demographics of wards are very different. So the Latinx community, for example, tends to be a lot younger than the general population. So the number of people, if you look at the population, the voting age population is different than maybe some of our Southside wards where the population is a little older. And the other thing is, there are people in your ward who are residents and not citizens, but are counted when we're composing the wards. And so that's a challenge as well. And some communities have a history of political participation and some don't. And so our members of the city council and party representatives who represent communities that are heavily populated by immigrants or first generation folks have some challenges. How have you addressed those challenges?
Well, one of the things as a committee person I like is door knocking. I know it's very, it's hard, especially because elections are in the fall and in the winter. But that's one of the ways that you get to see people. Social media says making it easier now to reach people and kind of use your visibility to let people know that how important it is. Engagement. If you're engaged in the community, I think people respect that. And so when you ask them to come out and show force, they're responding. I think part of it is just being engaged. I know that the demographics and that we have challenges in the Latino community, like you said, that a lot of folks are undocumented and a lot of young people that that we have. But you know what? The young people are taking it serious to voting. I know that the last election showed that, and the prior election showed that as well. And it's got to become a habit. And once it becomes a habit, that's going to be a wonderful thing. But it's not easy. It takes a lot of work to kind of keep people engaged and letting them know why should they be voting? Why does it matter to them? At the end of the day, things are never going to change. That's what they say. But you got to show them that, look, this is a wonderful neighborhood. You can make it better by participating. Either whatever happens to agree or not with the person in power, you can make a difference. And so we're doing that. It's engagement through various mechanisms. But I'm definitely optimistic the Latino numbers are going to rise.
Good. Now, let me ask you a more general question about where our party is going locally and nationally. What do you hope the Cook County Democratic Party can do to support your work in your ward and in your community?
Well, I think the Democratic Party has to broaden its message. Diversity is a wonderful thing. I think people want to see competency as well. They want to see that their leaders that we elect, we have a transparent process. They can see and feel, and they can get behind. And I think we just have to be more clear about that. Not to go a lot into it, but I think sometimes people see instances where the Democratic Party makes moves that are anointing people. And in today's age, they really don't like that. They want to see they themselves make that decision. So maybe we ought to make, not anointing anybody, but maybe having some sort of voting mechanism that people weigh in, a sort of mini primary. I don't know. We're just going to be creative in how that happens.
All right. What do you hope to see at the national level from the Democratic Party and the Biden-Harris administration?
I mean, at the national level, look, we got to get immigration reform passed, even if we have to do it in phases. And, you just alluded to the fact that I have a lot of undocumented. These are folks that speak probably only one language, and that's English. Really, you have folks that have been here 30 years, probably more, that know one thing. They don't know anything else. If you were to send them back to Mexico, they would be lost. They belong here, and they already know our system of laws. They've been working here somehow or another, and second-class citizens. And that's not the way this country should be. So we have to pass immigration reform, and I think Biden is going to try to do that somewhat. Even if they're doing phases, DACA as one shot, agricultural workers, frontline workers that matter to our economy. I think if we do that in numbers, that will help this country get back to its feet. I think it'll be very successful. Within 5 years, we're going to have citizens that can vote, and that helps the Democratic Party in a big way.
One of the things I was really disappointed in the 8 years that President Obama was in office is that we didn't put more focus and emphasis on immigration reform. And of course, Trump was a disaster.
Yes, definitely. And it's I think Reverend Emanuel called it a third barrel of politics, but I don't think it should be. I think that it's you can definitely demonize people because they come here to make a living, work hard. It's easy. That's the easy path for politicians to do that, to make. But I think from a human level, I think it's hugely important that the people that we take our best and we keep them, and those that don't share our values, we let go. And I think there ought to be a policy. And I think if we agree on that, I think Republicans and Democrats will come together and say, look, you agree that our country is best when we include the best, and when it's not, we don't. And I think they'll come together. I'm optimistic.
Well, I hope that's the case. There's always been this tension in this country between those who are welcoming and inclusive and those who are nativist, who fear those who are different and demonize those who are different. And surely Trump was in the latter category, demonizing people. What haven't we talked about that you want to share on the podcast?
Oh, I think we have a lot of work to do of also uniting African Americans, Latinos. We have a lot of common items, education. I want to see us do more on African Americans and their education. They're falling behind in a big way, and they have been. I don't think we've paid attention to that. I think we have to unite both Hispanics and Blacks on that. Not just at the higher education, but also secondary. I mean, high school, where it really matters. There's a stepping stone. We ought to make it a complete path from high school to college, and ought to be at the state level. These state universities, like Northeastern, as I mentioned, ought to be a university that we educate our young here. These are universities that could use to have the capacity to absorb more young people, and state funded. And behooves me as to why we can't do that. Really. So if Governor Pritzker wants to really be a game changer, that's the first thing you ought to do is provide free college education, make it 2 years. So it sticks, and make the other 2 years where they have to pay on their own. But something is better than nothing.
So we need to invest more in the education of our children and our people more generally. As a teacher, of course, I agree with that.
Of course.
I want to thank you very much, Committee Person Cardenas, for joining us. We're very grateful for your time today, and thank you for your good work on behalf of the people of the city of Chicago and the Democratic Party of Cook County.
Thank you. Thank you for your leadership.